Surf's Up is without a doubt one of the funniest animated movies of all time, with iconic characters like Chicken Joe and a narrative that's very different from other animations. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever stopped to think about why this movie has been forgotten over time? Why is it so rarely discussed and appreciated worldwide, unlike major animations like Ratatouille or Shrek? Well, if you've ever wondered about that and want to know everything about this film, stay with me, because today we're going to talk and understand the reasons why this happened to such a beloved animation. Surf's Up is a film that was nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature, featuring a super colorful and tropical visual style. In it, we follow the story of the misunderstood Cody Maverick, a penguin who loves to surf but is constantly judged by his family and everyone around him, being seen as someone who doesn't have much ambition. Cody is obsessed with Big Z, the most famous and admired surfer of all time, whom he idolizes, but who tragically disappears during one of his competitions. One fine day, a talent scout from Pengu Island, where the biggest surf competition happens every year, gets desperate and ends up in Shiverpool, Antarctica, the middle of nowhere where Cody lived with his family. The scout is looking for someone who surfs well and hopes to make a name for himself as a talent scout in the surf world. From that point on, Cody faces challenges he's never experienced in his homeland, like massive waves, skilled competitors, and building his own surfboard. There, he also gets involved in the mystery surrounding the disappearance of Big Z, his biggest idol. Surf's Up is a movie produced by Sony Pictures Animation, released in 2007. In fact, the film will soon be celebrating its 20th anniversary. Drop a comment. Were you born when this movie first premiered? And one of the things that stands out the most in this animation is the filming style they chose for the movie. The directors opted to do something different from the usual, and the film has a cinematography that feels like a documentary. The characters talk to the camera and are interviewed, which is very reminiscent of The Office. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the only animation made in this style. Was it risky? Obviously. Choosing a filming model that diverges from all other animations is a huge risk, but what's undeniable is that it led to several very funny scenes in the movie, which proves it was a great decision by the studio. Plus, as I said, it even got an Oscar nomination, though it lost to Ratatouille. Well, there wasn't much they could do there, right? Another thing that made Surf's Up leave its mark is, without a doubt, the simple fact that Chicken Joe exists. Seriously, where else do you find a hippie chicken who surfs? Chicken Joe can be considered the most memorable character in the entire film. I'm sure that if you watch this movie, the first character that pops into your head is Chicken Joe. Speaking of which, did you know that many of the lines in the movie were improvised by the actors? Since the film had this laid-back vibe, it was sort of a collective decision to give the film this more informal tone, which was yet another great choice, because anyone who hears those lines will probably laugh. Honestly, if you didn't laugh at least once during this movie, something's off. And you know what's even stranger? People who don't leave a like on this video and haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Take advantage of this wave and surf on over to the like and subscribe buttons, because every day I bring videos about your favorite films, and I guarantee you won't want to miss a single one. Now that I've talked about the biggest qualities of this film, which is so loved by some, and rightfully so because it has so much to be appreciated, we need to discuss some points that made this movie slightly forgettable. Do you have any idea how much Surf's Up made at the box office? To give you some context, Ratatouille, which was released the same year, brought in just over $620 million worldwide. So, how much do you think Surf's Up made? At least half of that. Right? Not even close. The Surfer Penguin movie made only $150 million worldwide, and if you have no idea whether that's a lot or a little, let me tell you, it's quite low. Sony, which produced and invested in the movie, spent $100 million just to make it. Yes, Surf's Up generated only $50 million in profit, and for a film studio, that's really low. One factor that also influenced the film's lower numbers was the year year it was released. Remember when I mentioned Ratatouille and Shrek earlier in the video? Well, Ratatouille and Shrek the Third were some of the animations released that year, which may have led audiences to watch other more renowned films from bigger studios. Taking Ratatouille as an example, the movie had massive promotional campaigns, which helped build anticipation around it, unlike Surf's Up, which didn't get the same level of promotion and ended up flying under the radar for many. It's also worth noting that, during that time, studios were working hard to release animations that not only entertained children but also appealed to adults who took their kids to the movies and needed to be captivated by the story too. This factor increased competition significantly, causing animations with deeper stories to stand out more than Surf's Up, which is a light-hearted movie without a big, impactful message like Ratatouille, for example. As you can see, movies were in full swing in cinemas that year, and although Surf's Up received positive reviews, the comparison with other animations that had more universal themes and more captivating stories definitely affected the general audience's perception at the time. Let's just say, the movie lacked a bit more emotion. When we analyze it coldly, the story boils down to a protagonist who doesn't have a very distinctive personality, secondary characters that aren't very memorable or interesting either, except for Chicken Joe of course, and a narrative that doesn't go beyond a surfing competition that, aside from not having any hype during the film's build-up, ended up not being that relevant in the end. It feels like something was missing from this movie, like it didn't quite reach its full potential. Oh, and speaking of wasted potential, did you know there's a second Surf's Up movie? That's right! If the first movie, which wasn't bad, ended up practically forgotten, Surf's Up 2 feels more like a collective hallucination. This movie, which you probably didn't even know existed, was only released on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital platforms. I don't know why they had this habit of releasing sequels on DVD instead of in theaters back then. In this totally poorly made sequel to Surf's Up, the film simply ignores everything relevant that happened in the first one. It's almost disrespectful to fans of this animation. To give you an idea, Cody, the main character, has even less personality than in the first movie, and Chicken Joe is present only as an attempt to squeeze out cheap laughs. He doesn't add anything to the movie, just like absolutely every character in this sequel. Big Z, Cody's greatest inspiration, simply doesn't exist in this movie, and they forced in a new group of surfers who came out of nowhere and who aren't really surfers at all. They're big, muscular penguins, and the story isn't about surfing anymore, it's about wrestling. Can you believe that? This happened because, at the time, the WWE federations were focusing on attracting kids to the sport and paid some studios to include WWE-style characters and fight scenes in franchises that had nothing to do with that, like Surf's Up 2, which completely ruined any chance the movie had of having personality or success. But Surf's Up is far from being a bad movie. What caused this film to be somewhat overlooked was the strong presence of other animations that have since become iconic and well-known. The movie might have fallen behind at the box office, but where it completely outdid the others was in comedy and the originality of its narrative approach. Now I want to know something that's worth more than box office numbers. Your opinion. Comment here for me. Did you remember Surf's Up? Do you think the movie is on the same level as animations like Shrek, Ratatouille, or How to Train Your Dragon? Do you think the low audience was understandable or that the movie deserved more recognition? And to not leave you hanging, you can also check out these two videos here on the channel in the same vein, where I discuss the movie Shark Tale and this other one about the movie Dinosaur, which is pure nostalgia and you'll love to remember them. Thank you very much for watching until now, and I'll see you in the next video here on Cine Lovers.